Welcome to Vivid Verses. If our words resonate with you, please subscribe, tap the like, and share your thoughts and your feelings in the comments. Now, let's begin. The ink on the check was barely dry, yet the triumphant gleam in Vanessa's eyes wasn't for me. It was for the Lumina, her ultra-exclusive wellness and social club that was set to open in downtown Manhattan in 3 days. "You've made me the happiest woman alive, Elias," she said, though she didn't lean in to kiss me. She just held the document, the final tranche of $5 million, like it was a shield. "I'm glad I could help make your dream a reality," I said, keeping my voice steady, my face a mask of supportive husbandly devotion. From the corner of the expansive living room, my brother, Thomas, swirled his scotch. He didn't say a word, but his raised eyebrow spoke volumes. Thomas had never trusted Vanessa. From the moment I met her 5 years ago, a dazzling junior marketing associate with a hunger for the high life, Thomas saw a predator where I saw a partner. For a long time, I resented him for it. Tonight, however, I knew he was the only person in the room who actually had my back. "I have to go meet the interior team," Vanessa said, checking her phone. A text had just come in. I knew who it was from. "We have to get the lighting perfect for the gala." "Don't stay out till late," I said. "Big week. Don't wait up." She was out the door before the sentence ended, the heavy oak slamming shut on our marriage, though she didn't know it yet. Thomas walked over and handed me a glass. "She's going to him." "Straight to him," I said, taking a sip. "Adrian, the brand consultant, and the money? Transferred. It's in the corporate account for Lumina now." Thomas grimaced. "Elias, I know you're playing a long game here, but watching you hand over $5 million to the woman who is sleeping with a mediocre graphic designer is giving me an ulcer." I walked to the window, looking out over the city lights that I had helped build. "She thinks the investment is irrevocable, Tom. She thinks that because the money is in the company account, it's hers to control. She believes she secured her golden parachute." I turned back to him. "She's about to find out that she's forgotten the most important rule of business. Always read the fine print." Thomas opened a file. "Vanessa, do you recall the angel investor agreement you signed 6 months ago? Specifically, the addendum regarding the moral turpitude and fidelity clause attached to the capital release structure." "The what?" She scoffed. "Standard legal jargon. It means I can't commit fraud." Actually, I interjected, it defines fraud quite broadly, including, but not limited to, engaging in an extramarital affair while utilizing funds to establish a business intended for the benefit of the family unit. Her face went pale. "You can't prove anything." I picked up a remote and clicked the television on the wall. It didn't show TV. It showed a slideshow. Timestamps, photos, text messages, Adrian entering hotels, Vanessa entering the same hotels, emails between her and Adrian discussing how they would rebrand Lumina once the old man is out of the picture. She stared at the screen, her mouth opening and closing. "I've known for 6 months, Vanessa," I said quietly. "I knew when you hired him. I knew when you slept with him in our Hamptons house while I was in London. And I certainly knew when you planned to serve these papers today." "So," she stammered, "so what?" "We're in a no-fault state. You can't stop the divorce." "I don't want to stop the divorce," I said. "I'm facilitating it. But you need to understand the nature of the money." Thomas handed her a document. The capital provided to Lumina was structured as a callable debt instrument secured by the intellectual property and the lease of the building, which, by the way, is owned by Elias's holding company, not Lumina. I stepped closer to her. "The contract states that upon filing for divorce or evidence of infidelity, the loan becomes immediately due in full. Furthermore, the lease is voidable at the landlord's discretion upon any change in the executive structure or financial instability of the tenant." You can't," she whispered. "Already have," I said. "As of 10 minutes ago, when you verbally confirmed your intent to divorce, my CFO triggered the recall." Lumina owes me $15 million, payable immediately. Since the company has spent most of it on renovations and marketing, it is insolvent. I am foreclosing on the business assets to recoup my loss. But the opening is tomorrow, she shrieked. Thomas opened a file. Vanessa, do you recall the angel investor agreement you signed 6 months ago? Specifically, the addendum regarding the moral turpitude and fidelity clause attached to the capital release structure. The what? She scoffed. Standard legal jargon. It means I can't commit fraud. Actually, I interjected, it defines fraud quite broadly, including, but not limited to, engaging in an extramarital affair while utilizing funds to establish a business intended for the benefit of the family unit. Her face went pale. You can't prove anything. I picked up a remote and clicked the television on the wall. It didn't show TV. It showed a slideshow. Timestamps, photos, text messages, Adrian entering hotels, Vanessa entering the same hotels, emails between her and Adrian discussing how they would rebrand Lumina once the old man is out of the picture. She stared at the screen, her mouth opening and closing. I've known for 6 months, Vanessa, I said quietly. I knew when you hired him. I knew when you slept with him in our Hamptons house while I was in London. And I certainly knew when you planned to serve these papers today. So, she stammered, so what? We're in a no-fault state. You can't stop the divorce. I don't want to stop the divorce, I said. I'm facilitating it. But you need to understand the nature of the money. Thomas handed her a document. The capital provided to Lumina was structured as a callable debt instrument secured by the intellectual property and the lease of the building, which, by the way, is owned by Elias's holding company, not Lumina. I stepped closer to her. The contract states that upon filing for divorce or evidence of infidelity, the loan becomes immediately due in full. Furthermore, the lease is voidable at the landlord's discretion upon any change in the executive structure or financial instability of the tenant. You can't, she whispered. Already have, I said. As of 10 minutes ago, when you verbally confirmed your intent to divorce, my CFO triggered the recall. Lumina owes me $15 million, payable immediately. Since the company has spent most of it on renovations and marketing, it is insolvent. I am foreclosing on the business assets to recoup my loss. But the opening is tomorrow, she shrieked. No, I corrected her. The opening was tomorrow. The locks on the building were changed an hour ago. The vendors have been notified that Lumina has ceased operations due to bankruptcy. The launch is canceled. She looked at me with pure horror. The kingdom she thought she had built on my back had evaporated in seconds. You're destroying it? You're burning $15 million just to spite me. It's a tax write-off, I shrugged. And frankly, it's a bargain compared to what you were planning to take from me. She stormed out. I knew where she was going. She was going to Adrian. She needed a savior, and she needed to spin the narrative that I was a monster. I sat down at the table, my adrenaline fading into a dull ache. It wasn't a victory to destroy the life you thought you were building with someone. It was just necessary sanitation. You okay? Thomas asked, pouring me a fresh coffee. I will be, I said. Is the legal team ready for the prenup challenge? She's going to try, Thomas said. But she signed the prenup 5 years ago, Elias. Separate assets remain separate. Any growth in marital assets is shared unless, and again, thank God for your paranoia back then, there is proof of infidelity, in which case she defaults to the entry clause. The entry clause. She leaves with what she brought, a 2018 Audi and about $40,000 in a savings account. 2 days later, the fallout reached its peak. Vanessa tried to fight. She hired a shark of a lawyer who promised her he could pierce the corporate veil. But the ironclad nature of my operations wasn't an exaggeration. Every dollar had been accounted for, every contract signed by her in her arrogance, ignoring the details. But the real blow came from Adrian. I heard about it from a mutual acquaintance. Vanessa had gone to him, hysterical, explaining that the business was gone, the money was frozen, and she was facing a legal war she couldn't afford. She needed him to step up. She needed his support. Adrian, the visionary brand manager, did the math. He realized he wasn't getting a wealthy divorcee with a multi-million-dollar wellness empire. He He was getting a woman with massive debt potential, a ruined reputation, and a vindictive billionaire ex-husband. He broke up with her via text message. He cited too much drama and moved to Los Angeles 3 days later. That was when the phone call started. I was in my office, reviewing the quarterly earnings from my shipping logistics firm, my actual business, the one that generated the real wealth. Thomas was sitting opposite me, going over the metrics. My cell phone buzzed. Vanessa. I let it go to voicemail. It buzzed again and again. Finally, I answered, putting it on speaker so Thomas could hear. Elias. Her voice was small, broken. It was a tone I hadn't heard in years. What do you want, Vanessa? I made a mistake. She was crying. I was confused. Adrian, he manipulated me. He got in my head. I didn't mean any of it. You filed the papers, Vanessa. I can withdraw them. I'll fire the lawyers. Please, Elias. We can fix this. I love you. I don't care about the business. I just want my husband back. I looked at Thomas. He shook his head slowly, a look of disgust on his face. Vanessa, I said, my voice flat. You don't love me. You love the lifestyle I provide. And now that the safety net is gone, you're scared. That's not true. You served me divorce papers the day before you thought you'd be rich enough to leave me. You didn't just break my heart. You tried to rob me. There is no coming back from that. Please, she sobbed. I have nowhere to go. The apartment is in your name. My cards are canceled. You have your savings, I said, and your parents in Ohio. I suggest you call them. Elias. I hung up. Then I blocked the number. Hardest thing you've ever done? Thomas asked. Yes, I admitted, rubbing my temples. But the smartest. The divorce took 6 months. It was brutal in the papers, but efficient in the courtroom. The prenuptial agreement held up perfectly. The judge, seeing the clear evidence of the affair and the explicit terms of the business loans, ruled entirely in my favor. Vanessa left the marriage with exactly what she had entered it with. She tried to sell her story to the tabloids, painting me as a controlling tyrant. It made headlines for a week, but the public has a short memory, and my PR team was better than hers. We released the timelines. We released the financial records showing how much I had supported her up until the betrayal. The narrative shifted. She became just another cautionary tale of greed. I didn't relish her downfall. I didn't watch her social media or track her movements. I simply excised her from my life like a tumor. For the first year, I focused entirely on work. My businesses, freed from the distraction of a failing marriage and the financial drain of Vanessa's vanity projects, thrived. I expanded the logistics fleet into the Pacific market. I bought a vineyard in Tuscany, a project Thomas and I had talked about since we were kids. Thomas was my rock. He moved into the guest wing of the penthouse for a while, ensuring I didn't wallow. We traveled. We reconnected as brothers, not just business partners. He never gloated, never said, I told you so, even though he had earned the right 1,000 times over. You need to get back out there, Thomas told me one evening in Tuscany, looking out over the rolling hills. I'm not interested in dating, I said. I can't do the game again. The wondering if she likes me or the portfolio. Then don't date the portfolio chasers, Thomas said. Stop going to Gallus. Stop looking for women in the places where Vanessa was. He was right. It happened 6 months later. I was at a charity auction, but not a black tie affair. It was a fundraiser for ocean conservation, a cause I actually cared about. I wasn't in a tuxedo. I was in jeans and a blazer, standing near the back. I started talking to a woman named Sarah. She was wearing a simple dress, holding a glass of cheap wine, and laughing at the pretentiousness of the auctioneer. She didn't know who I was. She was a marine biologist, passionate, intelligent, and grounded. We talked for 2 hours, not about money or business or who knew whom. We talked about the ocean, about books, about how much we both hated truffles. When I finally asked her to dinner, she hesitated. I should warn you, she said. I'm on a grad student budget. If we go out, we're going for tacos. I smiled, a genuine smile that reached my eyes for the first time in years. Tacos sound perfect. I took things slow, painfully slow. I didn't introduce her to my world immediately. I let her know me, Elias, the man who liked old jazz and science fiction novels, before she knew Elias, the tycoon. When she eventually found out, months later, she wasn't impressed. She was intimidated, even a little annoyed. "This makes things complicated," she had said, frowning. "I don't want your money to change how we are." That was the moment I knew I was safe. 3 years have passed since the day Vanessa walked into the kitchen with that manila envelope. Vanessa is a distant memory. I heard she moved back to Ohio, working in real estate. I wish her no ill will, as long as she stays far away from me. I'm sitting on the terrace of the Tuscan villa. The sun is setting. Thomas is inside, arguing with his own fiancée about wedding venues. Sarah is next to me, reading a journal article, her feet in my lap. I have my fortune. I have my dignity. But more importantly, for the first time in my life, I have the truth. And that is an asset you cannot buy. Thank you for listening. That brings today's story to a close. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. See you next time.